Joseph Gray Davis, Jr., is an American politician who served as the 37th Governor of California from 1999 to 2003. A member of the Democratic Party. Only months into his second term, in 2003, Davis was recalled and removed from office, the second state governor successfully recalled in U.S. history. Prior to serving as governor, Davis was chief of staff to Governor Jerry Brown, a California state assemblyman, California state controller and the 44th lieutenant governor of California. Davis holds a B.A. in history from Stanford University and a J.D. from Columbia Law School. He was awarded a Bronze Star for his service as a captain in the Vietnam War. During his time as governor, Davis made education his top priority, and California spent $8 billion more than was required under Proposition 98 during his first term. Under Davis, California standardized test scores increased for 5 straight years. Davis signed the nation's first state law requiring automakers to limit auto emissions. Davis supported laws to ban assault weapons, and he is also credited with improving relations between California and Mexico. Davis began his tenure as governor with strong approval ratings, but those ratings declined as voters blamed Davis for the California electricity crisis and the California budget crisis that followed the bursting of the dot-com bubble. Voters were also alienated by Davis's record-breaking fundraising efforts and negative campaigning. On October 7, 2003, Davis was recalled in the second of 3 such elections in U.S. history, which include the removal of Lynn Frazier of North Dakota in 1921 and the unsuccessful recall of Scott Walker of Wisconsin in 2012. He was succeeded in office on November 17, 2003 by actor Arnold Schwarzenegger, who won the recall replacement race. Davis spent 1,778 days as governor and signed 5,132 bills out of 6,244, vetoing 1,112 bills. Since being recalled, Davis has worked as a lecturer at the UCLA School of Public Affairs, as an attorney at Loeb & Loeb, and sat on the board of directors of the animation company Dick Entertainment. Early life and political career. Davis was born in the Bronx, New York City, the son of Doris Morell and Joseph G. Davis. Davis moved to California with his family as a child in 1954. He was the first of the family's 5 children, 3 boys and 2 girls. He was raised a Roman Catholic. Davis and his family were one of the millions of Americans to migrate to the Southwest and California as part of the post-World War II Sun Belt migration. His diverse educational experiences at public, private, and Catholic schools allowed him an opportunity to compare all 3 systems as a lawmaker. Davis graduated from a North Hollywood military academy, the Harvard School for Boys. Davis's family was upper middle class and was led by his demanding mother. Davis was nicknamed Gray by his mother. His father, Joseph Graham Davis, Sr., an advertising manager at Time Inc. and an alcoholic, was the son of businessman William Rhodes Davis. His strong academic accomplishments earned him acceptance to Stanford University. He played on the Stanford golf team with a 2 handicap. After Davis entered Stanford University, his father left the family, forcing Davis to join the ROTC to stay in school. The deal included a promise to enter the regular army after completing his education. He earned a Bachelor of Arts in History at Stanford, where he was admitted to the Zeta Psi fraternity, graduating in 1964 with distinction. He then returned to New York to attend Columbia Law School, where he won the Moot Court Award. During law school, Davis had a romantic encounter with actress Sybil Shepherd. He graduated from Columbia Columbia in 1967 and then clerked at the law firm of Beekman and Amberg in New York City. After completing the program in 1967, he entered active duty in the United States Army, serving in the Vietnam War during its height until 1969. Davis saw time on the battlefield during his time in Vietnam. Davis returned home as a captain with a Bronze Star Medal for meritorious service. Friends who knew him at the time said Davis, like many war veterans, came back a changed man, interested in politics and more intense. According to the Sacramento Bee, he returned from Vietnam more serious and directed. Davis was surprised to discover that many of those serving in Vietnam were Latinos, African Americans and Southern whites, with very few from schools like Stanford and Columbia. Davis believed that the burden of the war should be felt equally, and he resolved early on to go about changing America so that it would change. Davis is a life member of the American Legion and the Veterans of Foreign Wars. Davis volunteered for the campaign of John V. Tunney for the United States Senate in 1970. He started a statewide neighborhood crime watch program while serving as chairman of the California Council on Criminal Justice. His initial political experience included working to help Tom Bradley win election as Los Angeles' first black mayor in 1973. The historical significance of Bradley's victory further inspired Davis to pursue a career in politics. Davis ran for state treasurer in 1974 but lost when the more popular Jesse Unruh filed to run on the deadline. Davis returned to California and entered politics, serving as executive secretary and chief of staff to Governor Edmund G. Jerry Brown, Jr. from 1975 to 1981. Davis was not as liberal as Brown, and some said he offset Brown's style by projecting a more intense, controlled personality. While Brown was campaigning for president in 1980, Davis ran California in Brown's absence, though Davis would later claim that we always did what he thought Brown would have done. He met his wife-to-be, Sharon Ryer, while on an airplane tending to official business in 1978. Ryer, a flight attendant for Pacific Southwest Airlines, was annoyed when Davis held up the departure of the flight from Sacramento to Los Angeles. Davis apologized and asked her out, and they later married in 1983, with California Supreme Court Justice Rose Bird officiating. He was elected to the office of Assemblyman from the 43rd District, representing parts of Los Angeles County including West Los Angeles and Beverly Hills from 1983 to 7. Davis championed a popular campaign to help find missing children by placing the pictures on milk cartons and grocery bags. Prior to governorship, state controller, in 1986, Davis ran against 6 other contenders in his race for state controller. Several of those candidates, including Democrat John Garamendi and Republican Bill Campbell, were arguably better known at the time. Davis served as state controller for 8 years until 1995. As California's chief fiscal officer, he saved taxpayers more than $500 million by cracking down on Medi-Cal fraud, rooting out government waste and inefficiency, and exposing the misuse of public funds. He was the first controller to withhold paychecks from all state elected officials, including himself, until the governor and the legislature passed an overdue budget. He also found and returned more than $1.8 billion in unclaimed property to California citizens, including forgotten bank accounts, insurance settlements and stocks. 1992 campaign for Senate. Davis ran against San Francisco Mayor Dianne Feinstein for the Democratic nomination for the United States Senate in the 1992 special election to fill the Senate seat vacated by Pete Wilson, who was elected governor of California in 1990. The race is often cited as an example of Davis's history of negative campaign tactics. The Davis campaign featured an ad that compared Feinstein to the incarcerated hotelier Leona Helmsley. Some experts consider that ad to be the most negative in state history. The ad backfired, with Davis losing to Feinstein by a significant margin for the nomination, although this loss did not stop Davis from using negative campaign ads in the future, including in his race for lieutenant governor. Davis blamed his campaign managers for the defeat and vowed not to let major decisions in future campaigns be decided by his campaign star. In 2003, when Feinstein urged voters to vote no during the recall election, she was constantly reminded through questions, video and the media about the 1992 primary. Lieutenant Governor. Many Democrats came to believe that Davis's political career was over after his defeat in his run for the Senate, but Davis created a new campaign team. He won a landslide victory in his race for lieutenant governor in 1994, receiving more votes than any other Democratic candidate in America. Davis ran as a moderate candidate against Republican Kathy Wright. Davis used ads to depict Wright as a Republican who was too conservative for California. Davis had a large advantage in campaign funds. As lieutenant governor until 1999, Gray Davis focused on efforts on the California economy and worked to encourage new industries to locate and expand in the state. He also worked to keep college education affordable for California's middle-class families and oversaw the largest student fee reduction in California history. He is the state's second highest officeholder. He served as president of the state Senate, chair of the Commission for Economic Development, chair of the State Lands Commission, regent of the University of California, and trustee of the California State University. 1998 campaign for governor. In the June primary election, Davis surprised political observers by handily defeating two better-funded Democratic opponents, multimillionaire airline executive Al Keki and Congresswoman Jane Harman, wife of multimillionaire Sidney Harman. Davis's campaign slogan during the primary was, "Experience money can't buy." Early primary polls showed Davis in third for the Democratic nomination. Davis surprised many political insiders with his landslide come-from-behind victory. Davis even finished ahead of the unopposed Republican nominee in California's first blanket gubernatorial primary. Davis won the 1998 general election for governor with 57.9% of the vote, defeating Republican Dan Lungren, who had 38.4%. Davis aimed to portray himself as a moderate centrist Democrat and to label Lungren a Republican too conservative for California and out of touch with its views on issues like guns and abortion. After his victory, Davis declared that he would work to end the divisive politics of his predecessor Pete Wilson. In his campaign, Davis emphasized the need to improve California's public schools, which voters had cited as the top concern in this election.